Hey everybody, I've been getting some questions around the shaft collar for the Edge Pro, and I've been meaning to make this video for a while, so I'm finally doing it. Some things that I'm going to go over here is exactly why we do this, so I'll get you some video on the Edge Pro itself mounted up to really understand why this is an essential piece. I'll then use what we show you there on the wooden block to like scale it up to, like, again, drive home why we need this thing. I'm going to show you where you can get this in addition to another one in a few ways. And I think that's it. So without further ado, let's take a look at the shaft collar on the Edge Pro. I'm going to start with the two most extreme examples I have of different thickness stones, because that's what we're really working to address here. In this case, I have a blank, so there's actually no stone on this, but it works to illustrate a point. And then I have a stone here where it's a relatively new 600 grit stone on here. So what we're going to see is, if initially, the way I've set this, it is set at the height of this blank. And then if I mount this in the Edge Pro, what we see right here is a very specific angle that the stone is interacting with the knife. Okay, so that's a good shot. Now, imagine, I don't have one, but imagine an angle cube sitting right here on this face. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another stone in there, right? So before I do that, just realize what is going to happen now is that with a thicker stone in here, this is going to come up, right? With a thicker stone in there, I put a thicker stone in, and this is going to come up. When that happens, the angle changes, right? Because the other end over here stays fixed. This side changes, and again, imagine an angle cube on there. It comes up. It seems really small, right? Like it seems like it shouldn't matter, but it does. It really matters. And I'll show you, that's why I have the wooden blocks. I'll show you in greater detail how much it matters. But that's what's happening, that little change. I'll put the stone in so now there's a thicker stone in there, the angle has gone up. If I had an even thicker one, it'd go up even more. All the while, that angle is changing. Okay, so how do we accommodate for that? As that thicker stone comes in, the thing that we do first is that we come over here to the shaft collar and we raise the post by the same amount of increased thickness that the stone is. So now what I hope you're seeing is that because we raised this side by the same amount that we raised this side, this angle relative to the knife is now the same as it was when we had a thinner stone in. Okay, that's the principle of it. Let's look at the wooden block to really drive home why this is so important. Here is a dramatic, oversized version of your knife, right? Just like it's mounted on the Edge Pro, flat-sided blade, excuse me, is on the bed of the Edge Pro, rather this flat side is. Your stone rides on here. So now let's use like a dramatically oversized stone. When it fits just right, it does that. But if I put a thicker stone on there and that angle changes, it's gonna now ride like that. And that's the big issue. It's a less of an issue if you put a skinnier one on and it rides like that, because you're still cutting at the edge of the knife, like where the cutting action happens. But when you do this just a little bit, it brings the cutting action right off of the edge of the knife and onto this shoulder, right? And now you're not using, now that grit stone is not influencing the edge of the knife, so you're really getting absolutely no results from this. And that is a very big deal. Again, if every one of them increasingly got a little bit skinnier, you would still be interacting with the edge of the knife and you'd still be getting that increased surface finish effect at the edge of the knife, but it doesn't work like that. All your stones are going to be slightly different, and the slight difference really matters. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, I want to go over in detail exactly how you use this shaft collar. So first off, you got to get it on here. Okay, so let's say I'm doing this knife and I want to do it at 21 degrees. So I'm going to set my post at 21 degrees like you normally would. On the first stone that I use, so let's just pretend like this is the first stone I'm going to use, I'm going to then slide my shaft collar up so that it is that stone's thickness away. All right, do my job. When I progress onto the next, let's say this is my next stone and it's super skinny, before I use it, I'm going to slide it in here, lower the post, put my stone in, and then use it, right? And as I progress through my stones, every time I use a new stone, this one's a little thicker, so I'm going to do that. They all go back to the same angle on the knife. Next stone, another skinny one here, drops down, cinch it up, do that. Okay, so you set it for your first stone, you change it for each stone in your progression. Now let's talk about some specifics about this shaft collar. First off, the one I'm using is the Rouland QCL Tac 5 Tac A. This costs $37. I'll include links below on where you can find it both at Amazon, but sometimes it's not in stock at Amazon, but you can still get it directly from Rouland. So I'll include those links. I might have already said it, but this costs $37. It's ridiculous, but once you use it, you'll know why. Like this, if you're doing precision sharpening, you have to do something like this. The dimensions here, this is a 5/16 hole, which matches the 5/16 rod on the Edge Pro arm. The way this one is configured, there's a little cam in here so that when it slides on, you close this cam, and now you have a very relatively large surface area to rest your stone on, and it is very easy to move. It's using just your hand to move. Before I move on for this, if you're having issues with this not grabbing on this post, as in like you close it but it's still sloppy, it doesn't grab real well, understand that there is, the way this cam works, there is a little screw right in here. And the way you can make it, and here's that cam action, right? So hopefully with this close-up you see that cam pulls it tight, that gap closes, and that's what squeezes against the post here. If that's not closing, there's a little screw right in there. That's a 2 millimeter Allen tool, and that's how you can do a small adjustment. If it's not grabbing, just tighten it up a little bit and then close the cam. If it's so tight that you can't close the cam, loosen it a little bit, and that is how you set that. Okay, so let's say you're not ready to drop 40 bucks on this thing. I don't blame you, but at the same time, like, it is what I would consider to be, especially if you're getting into higher end knives, you got to do something. The only other one that I have is a smaller shaft collar, a 5/16 shaft collar, and in that case it's the same function, but there's no cam here. The dimensions, I don't know where the one is that I have, I'm sorry, otherwise I'd show you, but it is significantly smaller, but it's still functional. And it is a tool operational thing. So every time you use it, you need to have your Allen tool ready. You go in there, you loosen it, move it to where you want it, and tighten it, and set the Allen tool down. Yeah, short of like getting creative on different ways to do that, that's the next best solution I have. The location for that I've best found is really, it's probably going to Chef Knives To Go. They have a few things. One is an Edge Pro essential accessory pack. That costs $40, and it has the shaft collar and a few other things, but the rest of the things there's only one other thing that matters to me in that kit. So what I would do is scroll down a little further on that page. You'll find the shaft collar alone for $4, and then the other thing that's valuable in that accessory kit is this spring right here. And this spring allows you to do rapid stone changes, right? Because if you don't have the spring, you end up needing to unscrew this, put a new stone, and screw this in. So by getting the spring upgrade, you can just easily pop that in and out. And again, that spring is in that essential kit for $40, but you can also buy it alone for $2. So my recommendation would be to, if money is an issue, spend the $4, $5, $6 at Chef Knives to Go, and it'll probably cost you $10 to ship it, but whatever, man, like you're still saving money over a $40 shaft collar or a $40 Edge Pro accessory kit. You make the call that's best for you. I'll include links to where all those things are. Okay, so I hope that was useful. We went over exactly why the shaft collar is needed. We went over to how to use it. We went over where to get it, where to get a few versions of it. But still, if you have any questions, make sure you ask them, and we'll keep the conversation going for as long as it needs. Thanks so much.